I am not scared. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher Podcast. This is episode 58. I am your host, Supreme King, and I am joined with my co-host, as always. His name is...
It's your guy, Omasis.
Yeah, it's funny because I would run that joke in the beginning, literally before we record, like almost more than half of the episodes. Like, are you scared? And he's like, no. Like, we've been doing this forever. And then he called me off guard. He asked me that first. I wasn't even going to ask it, but that's okay. We are here, Rocket Launcher Podcast. Supreme King here. I do want to let y'all know I'm definitely working on my comeback. I'm working on getting my extra equipment as early as tonight, if I can, to work on my comeback. So one of the videos I wanted to do going forward was like what have you been playing, which is kind of a cliche thing I've seen people do over the time, but it's like a video that you would like just to give you an excuse to just make a video, right? I'm like, that doesn't really have anything to do with like gaming news, but it'll be cool. But I guess I'll just ask you real quick while we in the intro, like, what have you been playing, man? What's been on your radar? What you been playing?
So I've just beat was the game I've mainly been playing, Dodgeball Academia. So it was on PlayStation Plus Extra, and it's like a little cartoony RPG where if you remember Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, where it was like it took place in a school and like everything was always themed around Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah. It's that, but dodgeball. So you have like superpowers as well, and there's a whole story, and I kind of feel bad for the main enemy of the story. And you like you have a cartoony team, like one of the dudes has like a balloon head. I don't know why, but he just does, and one dude has a square head, and they're all just weird, and but it's all goofy and funny. It was a really good game. It was like a solid, I think it's like 10 hours. 8-hour game.
Nice and sweet. That's good.
Yeah. But I just beat it like earlier this week. So I've just been kind of like playing Fall Guys and stuff until I pick something new to play.
So, technically speaking, I just finished Pokemon SoulSilver Throwback. And I was going to talk about it a little bit more towards the end of this episode. So, like, comment, share, subscribe, stick around for that. And I just wanted to also give a shout out to a hot game right now that's not necessarily available everywhere, unfortunately, but Remnant 2, overall successful launch from what I was seeing, mostly positive reviews from what I was seeing. That's unfortunately great. In my area, it was either unavailable or sold out. I obviously you can still buy it digital, but I did want a physical copy of it, and I didn't want to have it shipped. I wanted to actually just pick it up, and unfortunately for me, that's not a reality right now, but maybe this upcoming week. But I was checking pretty much all my places every day, and for the whole week from last week to now, it just was not available. But it seemed to be doing really good. It may actually be in the Game of the Year contender space right next to a lot of big names, which I was not expecting for Remnant 2. I thought that would be something a little bit more niche, something only I would like, a few other people would like, but it's getting some notoriety. It's up there, man. But that's I wasn't able to get it. Yeah, well, you weren't able to get it either, right? That's what I was hearing.
I was checking on the GameStop app, and I was just gonna do a pay there and then pick it up in store, and every store within like a 50-mile radius around me, it was just sold out. So then I stopped at Walmart, and it was also sold out. Like, it just wasn't there. So yeah, yes. You can do ship from home or ship to home, but that's what I'm gonna end up doing.
Yeah, so Walmart has it online, but the second you say in store, it disappears. It was not there. If you go in store, it's still not there. Funny enough, though, that one copy of PlayStation VR 2 is still there. Nobody got it. So there's still one PSVR 2 there, no PS5, and no Remnant 2. But
priorities.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Funny enough, though, every location I go to, there seems to be like 100 of that AEW game. Like, it's just there. They got plenty of copies of that. Like, the AEW game, they had like 2 rows of them all the way in the back.
I noticed that at Walmart too. They had 3. Well, they had 3 rows of it said AEW Fight Forever, and 2 of them were full.
Yeah, it was just
nothing against the game. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just saying that, like,
it's just plentiful.
Like they ordered a lot more copies of that than they did everything else.
Yeah, so Tony Khan or whoever else wanted to make sure that was in the store, and they got that bad boy in the store. It didn't look like anybody was buying it though, just like what you said. But it's there. That's in the store. But unfortunately Remnant 2 is not there yet. It'll be there eventually, I'm sure. And I'm also pretty sure maybe Best Buy will probably have it this upcoming week anyway. But yeah, I didn't want to keep... Whenever I buy disc-based games and have them shipped to me, it's like 50-50 chance like the disc is loose, you know, and it's just like moving around in the case even though the case hasn't been open. I hate that. Like, no, I do not want that. And like sometimes when I do those Black Friday sales, like, and it'll be like a whole bunch of games, and I got like 6 or 7 games coming to the house, like 3 of them will be loose. You know, and it's just like, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. Where you could just shake it and you can just hear it moving around in there. But no. So I'd rather just pick it up. It's in the, you know, in the store. You know, I live by a lot of stores that sell video games, so I don't really want to, you know, get it in the mail anymore. But that's all right. That's all right. Shout out to Remnant 2. It might be in the game of the year, like I said. Very, very stacked year so far for gaming. For all platforms. If you own all the platforms, you got, like, you know, you're having a ball, basically. And Remnant is multi-plat, so that's pretty good. Yeah. I guess we can move on to the next topic. I don't know what else to talk about for Remnant. Hopefully we can get our hands on it by next week. Hopefully. But moving forward, funny enough, I want to talk about Ratchet and Clank real quick. This is kind of funny because it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, like I told you so kind of thing. Like everybody will praise the PC, I guess, but not every PC can handle some of these games apparently. So I guess Ratchet and Clank, the PC version of this, you have to have you know, some beefy tools underneath that case. Basically, you got to have some bells and whistles under there in order to handle this, because apparently, you know, if you just got a regular PC that don't got a SSD that's fast enough, you can't do all the portal changing. And you know, at one point I remember there was like these devs or something was like, no, PlayStation's lying, and you could do this on the PS3. And then he was showing like some demo of doing it, you know, at one point. And it was just all console war stuff at one point, right? But now apparently, you know, people tested the settings where it was similar to like a PS4, I guess, on the PC, and it wasn't able to handle. And then there are some people with certain PCs where it's just not able to handle it, I guess.
PlayStation sent back like, I told you, you need our system.
Like, I don't know what's going on. I remember, I think it was the Miles Morales game where, like, I don't know, I think the recommended settings, one of the things was like you needed 32 gigs of RAM. I think that's what it was. And, you know, a lot of people talk a big game, but they don't got it like that. Not everybody got it like that under the hood. A lot of people got PCs that's not as good as like the Steam Deck and ROG Ally. They just don't say it, you know. But yeah,
I'll say
I guess
it. Mine ain't as good.
I guess, you know, it's the upgrade. The upgrading is what really costs. Is like, that's how they make their money off of you, you know, because you got to buy them parts, and they ain't cheap. They are not cheap. But yeah, I guess, Ratchet and Clank, funny enough, I actually got a copy of this for like $5 like 2-3 weeks ago. Maybe people should stick with the console versions, but it's a double-edged sword because at the same time, like, we see that the companies try to take advantage of you if you are on console only. We've talked about the pricing of stuff in the past, but then at the same time, if you are on PC, it's not necessarily guaranteed. It's almost not guaranteed at all that the game is going to be optimized at launch, right? So it's like,
didn't Star Wars Jedi Survivor have the issue that some people's PCs were too powerful and it didn't work? And they're just like,
yeah, I think that was the excuse.
Like, yeah, you need a 2000 level of you 3000 or above for the graphics card. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it ain't gonna work. So you have to upgrade it for all of these games, but then here's this one that actually you need to downgrade. So it's weird that you need all of these different like settings for. I don't know.
I just think it's funny. I think it's funny because, at one point, I think we were starting to get to the point where we were caring just a little too much in the hardware and not paying as much to the game itself anymore. I think we're in a weird space right now like that.
I said the thing where I've noticed how it's as soon as I saw that you had to pick between performance or fidelity, like you have to choose, do you want it to play good or look good? And it's like the games can't handle the hardware. Like they just can't keep up. It's not they're not trying. I think they just can't. They just can't. We've advanced it too far.
Yeah, like you could argue for me personally, like I fell victim to this myself because I just maybe got a little greedy with the systems and the handhelds and stuff, but technically the market is so oversaturated with the systems anyway, outside of just like a regular PC, because now we're talking about you have a Steam Deck, you have a ROG Ally, but then there was that Logitech device. PlayStation is still set to come out with their own handheld as well. And then there is the regular PS5, but then there's also, a PC where you're open to, whatever you can afford. And then you hope it works later on, but it's not guaranteed. Right. And then somebody else is going to jump into the handheld market like next year or the year after. And then there will be a Switch 2, right? And it's just like maybe we're just having maybe it's too widespread and maybe developers just can't keep up. Because I could imagine, like, even on the PC side, there were a lot of developers that was trying to optimize for the Steam Deck based on its popularity. But now you got to talk about, like, the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and having specific settings for them. And then you want it to be like polished enough where just anybody can get their PC, put it on medium settings, high settings, low settings, whatever they can do, and no matter what, your game is playable, right? Like, you got to try to make sure that you can have it like that. And then also on the Series X and PS5. And then there's like the situation that comes back and forth every now and then about the Series S being more of a last gen system to a lot of people, or to developers or stuff. Like we've been hearing like developers take shots at the Series S every now and then. They always got something slick to say about it because they don't want to like develop for it, I guess. And I can imagine like if they're acting that way towards the Series S, then it kind of makes sense why low-end PCs are not as optimized for like next-gen gaming, for example, right? Because it sounds like they don't want to like mess with any hardware or anything that they pretty much think is just obsolete, And so it kind of it makes sense when you get back to this Ratchet and Clank situation. But I don't know. Is it too much hardware for them? I don't know.
I think so.
Because at some point, you gotta, like, even when you talk about an exclusive, right? Like, let's say a PS5 exclusive, like, you could argue the Project Q, whatever name is going to be, that's like their Series S now, in a way. Because it's like, if anything, you got to make sure it's optimized to, like, be able to be streamed off of that machine. Similar to, like, how on the other side, like, a game has to be optimized for Series S, right? And it's like, we don't know yet the power of the Project Q, but if it's just streaming, it, in theory, it has to be less powerful than the Series S, in my opinion. I don't know, because it's just a handheld that streams. So when that come out, it becomes even more harder for the devs in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do think, honestly, it's like I said, where I said the developers just can't handle making things or everything. It's like, if there was like one standard, I guess, like inside for, I guess this is the best way I can put it, for the systems and everything, they can really work on making sure everything's optimized. But with everything constantly being so different and having such a wide range for what PCs need to be able to handle, right? Because not everybody can just have a 3070 and everything. And I think there's too many people in that market that don't have a 3070 that you need to make sure things still work for the 20, still work for the 30s. Some of them still work for the thousands.
I think a lot of people are still in that level.
I'm in the thousands, all right? But I mean, I just didn't upgrade because I barely play on PC. So I figured when I get to playing more on PC, then I'll upgrade. But like, you have to do it for that, for the people who are constantly playing on PC but only have the thousands, while also optimized on the PS5. Some games still having to be able to play it on the PS4, while also being able to play on the Series X and S, while also being able to sometimes play on Switch, which we see takes longer, while also being able to play on the Steam Deck or the
some of these games got mobile versions.
Mobile version and stream on the backbone. And it's just like, I think it's at that point, it's like, okay, well, either I make something that's just 1080 and it works on everything, but then everybody complains that it looks like last gen, or I make something next gen, but then it just ain't gonna work on everything else. Like, I don't, like, these are your options. To the point where even I think it's Baldur's Gate 3. It might be Baldur's Gate 3. I have to relook and see, but I know it's coming out. Oh yeah, it is Baldur's Gate 3. It comes out on PC this month. It comes out on PlayStation next month, and it is gonna come out on Xbox. They just don't have a date yet because they said there's something that's not working and they're not gonna release it broken. So they're still trying to fix it so it'll work on, I think it was Series S. That's something that it still needs to work on there. So they don't have a release date yet for the Xbox One. So I think they're being spread too thin, along with the companies, having to let people go all the time. And CD Projekt Red just let go of 100 people and everything. So that's even less people to work on it.
I think the complaining towards Series S, I think, is a little harsh because you don't see that same type of complaints when it comes time to convert and port to the Switch. And I don't know how long it takes them to do it, but they had that Switch.
It usually also takes them like an extra year, right? To always get it onto the Switch.
Maybe it's harder because with Series S you still need day and date. Where on the Switch, they literally just announced the Batman collection, right? And how old is the Batman collection? Right. So maybe that's the reason why. And it seems more of a passion project in a way for them to put it on the Switch, because they always put it years later. Even Switches, every time the Switch does a direct, they pull out some of these ports that are if they were current gen ish, it's 2 years later or something like that, right? And some of them are cloud versions and everything, and there's not too much complaints on the Switch side. I don't know. They'll come out with it and they're just like, thank you, I guess. But maybe the day and date thing. So like if they didn't have the day and date constraints on the Series S, the developers probably wouldn't complain as much. But the Series S is a hot like buy on the Xbox side because of its price point. It's like people probably just buy it just because. I got the X. I don't have the S, but I did see it in the store. It really is small. That bad boy is a notebook. I was like,
and
man.
See, because I mainly play PlayStation, and then I got the PC specifically to not just also buy an Xbox because I thought it would be too much. While wanting some PC exclusive games. But if I was to get one, I'd probably get the S because of how much I'm going to be on it. So I might as well get that one.
The S could slide, man, in your backpack. Like they might as well make a belt clip for that bad boy. It might could fit on your belt, man. That bad boy is little. Like I was able to like well, I got big hands, but I was able to kind of like touch both sides of it with like my hand stretched like a basketball, almost like palm it in a way. Kinda. Not completely. Ooh. But yeah, it's like a notebook. It's like a notebook. It's a little bit skinnier than a notebook. But it's really small. It looks just like those speakers, those like bass speakers or Bose speakers. But yeah. So I guess in you mentioned Baldur's Gate. I was gonna actually transition to your other topic. Well, with you mentioning that, did you want to say anything else with Baldur's Gate first? Or are you done with it?
Yes. Okay. So Baldur's Gate 3 is already looking like a great game. I'm like gotten really excited for it, especially because of how much of a letdown I've been reading Diablo 4 is. To the point where I
think that's because because of that one update, right? Can't they do something else like not really reverse it, but
yes, like, however, because they've already riddled it with microtransactions, this update, if you read about the stuff that they were doing, it's to reinforce the microtransactions. Which means they're just going to do it. It wasn't just the update made things bad. It was, hey, level locking this one part around being level 30. We're level locking this one part about being level 40, and we're slowing down level progression. So you have to play longer. And that's just a setup, which Marvel's Avengers did it. That's a setup for, hey, you want to just pay to like boost level? You can do that now. Or the class that they complained about being not strong enough in comparison was the wizard class, and then that patch made it even weaker. So there was that. But like you could tell a lot of their things, you could just see the moves were microtransaction moves. So I'm like, I'm good. But Baldur's Gate 3 is chopping up to look real good. And because they know a lot of people are excited for it, the devs at what is it, Larian Studios have made an absent note for people to give to their work. So it's like a request for special leave for Baldur's Day dispensation, and they have a whole thing that you can fill out and give to your boss. That's like, the undersigned hereby request a special dispensation for my regular duties and obligations in observance of the momentous occasion of the release of Baldur's Gate 3 or Baldur's Day. So it just gives this whole speech about how, I'm sorry, I can't come into work right now. I got to play Baldur's Gate. So they decided to release that.
That's funny. I gotta say though, for not to defend Diablo 4, I'm not really defending the use of microtransactions and the predatory nature of it. I just wanted to mention, like, wasn't it somewhat like expected though, coming off of Diablo Immortal? You know, when we kind of expected them to kind of go there.
So Diablo 3 wasn't that bad. With it. Then they released Diablo Immortal, and it was horrible. And they're like, they made a bunch of money, which is what upset me. But it's also because a lot of foreign markets are really into phone games, and that's all they play. And it happened here too. But like a lot of the hardcore people were just like, "Yo, don't do this for like the console game, and they're like, nah, we won't. And then they're doing it.
Yeah.
So that was the issue. Is people wanted this to be more reflective of Diablo 3, not Diablo Immortal, and they went the Diablo Immortal route, which just tells me, okay, I'm done. As they say, they're doing what Activision does. So
yeah, I was sort of expecting it. I just didn't think it was going to be like kind of as bold as what they did, you know.
Yep. That was my issue. So I knew they were probably going to do some store stuff and things like that. But they're also getting to the point, where you do start doing like multiple currencies. So you got to try and keep up with which currency goes with what. So you're still just spending a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, I think this was them. My bad if it wasn't for Diablo. But there was some game, but I'm pretty sure I was reading about it from Diablo. Is that they put the like, it was like to purchase a season pass thing was like right next to like the exit button, so people would accidentally click purchase season pass. So they had put in a patch that would pretty much ask you, "Are you sure?" Because if you're not being careful, it's very easy to click on the wrong one.
They did it on purpose.
Yep. Like, how like certain phone apps, like, or phone game apps, or ads, or not apps, ads will put the little X button really, really small, but if you try and click it, you might accidentally hit the image and it'll just open.
And then
that's
no
what they're
refunds.
Kind of doing here. Yep. So they're doing that, and then what was the other thing they did? They also, somebody said that like the season pass, and it was Diablo, because there was a joke that like playing through with the season pass gets you like 666 like of their currency like throughout it. However, that's not enough to buy their cheapest item, which costs 800 of the currency. Along with, it doesn't give you enough money to buy the next season pass. So like with Fall Guys, if you were a long-time player, the first season pass, if you play through it, you earn enough of their new little in-game currency that when season 2 comes out, you can just buy the season pass off of the in-game currency because you've earned it enough. So that's what I've been playing and doing. So each season, I can unlock the season pass because I played through the season pass to get it. And this game does not give you enough. Diablo doesn't give you enough to not only you can't purchase the next season pass, you can't even purchase their cheapest item, like out of it. From just playing the game, you still have to buy more of their little thing to get the season pass. And of course, they don't sell you exactly 134, so you can get to the 800 to buy it. It's gonna automatically put you like more. But then you don't have enough. You just have like 34 of the things sitting there, so you can't buy anything with it. So you gotta pay another $5, and it's all predatory. So it was just it was unfortunate because I was looking forward to playing it, but oh well.
So we moving this one out of the conversation of one of the games of the year or nominations.
I'm comfortable doing that.
Because I know it seemed like, I think you could only have up to 6, but we had like 8 or 9 games hovering around there. And I know we were saying, I think it was Star Wars Jedi Survivor, because of its launch. That one was more iffy to be pulled out. And then last minute, we're saying Remnant is something we're going to put in. And then we were saying like between Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 remake, as far as the horror game that makes it in there, we're probably going to say Resident Evil is over Dead Space. But Dead Space was still good. It's just really early on. It's still shaping up to be really, really stacked this year. It seems so stacked already. But yeah.
Baldur's Gate might get thrown into the Game of the Year category. And part of it might be getting rubbed that a lot of people are going to be like comparing it in favor to Diablo. So it's going to get extra like rub of people going like, it did this better and it did this better. Like it was already getting praised just because you could play it offline. That was one thing. You can play it offline. There's no microtransactions, at least as of now. They said there's no microtransactions. And it has like online you can play and couch co-op for up to 4 people.
Okay.
Yep.
So that sounds good. I guess we can move on. I was going to transition into your other topic because of we were talking Ratchet and Clank, but so Insomniac's they're going to do a AAA multiplayer game.
Yeah, so somebody found in an old social media video from 2022, they were mentioning the stuff that they were working on, and they were like, "You got Spider-Man 2, we got Wolverine, and we got this multiplayer game." Is how they put it, and they didn't say what the multiplayer game. People are now speculating like what the multiplayer game could be. I'm pretty sure it won't come out for a while because once they finish Spider-Man 2, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be all hands on Wolverine. And then when Wolverine's done, because I can especially imagine too if they want Wolverine to release near Deadpool 3's release, since that's gonna feature Wolverine in it. It'll be a nice like, hey.
What if they say? What if that's the game though? What if they was like, surprise, Wolverine was actually a multiplayer game, and it has because we didn't get nothing but a graphic. We didn't get we didn't get anything else. And what if they do that? It does have Deadpool. It does have.
It could be, or the X-Men all in it.
Yeah, I think people might be upset about that though. I think they probably do want like Wolverine, just like the Uncaged Edition game.
Yeah. But because we're speculating on what AAA could be, because they didn't say it had to be a Marvel title, they just had a multiplayer, right? What if?
Yeah,
this is the Power Ranger game. That's where my hope is. Like,
yeah, I don't think it's going to go. That's too fantasy for them. I think
Hasbro is making moves, right? They pulled filming from New Zealand. I think it's gonna be starting here. They're gonna be doing like a whole reboot thing. What if they're paying Insomniac to like do a game and it's gonna tie into the reboot?
Is Insomniac that good, man? You think they can handle this many projects together all at one?
Yeah, I think so. Well, they've been doing one at a time, so.
I think though when I see multiplayer game from a PlayStation studio, I think of that original 10 games that was supposed to be live service.
Also true.
That's kind of where I think they were going with it. Not to be negative about it, I just think that's because that was mentioned early on, and it was pretty much understood last minute that Last of Us Factions was going to be like one of those games, and then it seemed like they pulled the plug on the live service aspect of it. Maybe because we know that they somewhat went back to the drawing board because of like some of the other stuff that had happened. Yeah, and then I guess Bungie had something to do with that as well, or was like in the ear of PlayStation. A lot of weird stuff was going on over there with some of these games and stuff. But when I see multiplayer game and I see PlayStation, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the live services. But I think the companies know we don't want that. They're defiant anyway.
Care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
I think
they know we don't want it, but they know people put money into it.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's it. And I think like that was why the NFT thing was pushed so heavily, because they knew like I could just throw a graphic up there, no different than if I do a promotional poster, and I could convince people to buy it and tell them they own it. And that's all it was. Man, everybody was trying to do an NFT. Yep. It just nobody was paying real money for it. That's all it was.
I found out through the show I was watching. Basically, they all hire a person whose job it is to, how do we get more money? They don't care about the games. They don't care about nothing. It's just what do we do to monetize? That's all they care about. And that's what these guys they get a lot of say. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So I guess I can mention real quick while we're kind of on the topic of a PlayStation company, Insomniac. They did PlayStation wise. They did sell or officially now sold over 40 million PS5s.
Hey.
So somebody's putting up some money somewhere. A lot of people are still buying this thing. It's not available in stores everywhere yet. It's still kind of on certain location. You got to ask around first and then show up. It's not like you just walk in there and it's just there. That's still my gripe, but at least at least online wise, they still sold 40 million. First 10 million went to scalpers, but we're not gonna say that. But because of that, they're like, okay, we got to keep the people happy a little bit, so we're going to still give them something like Spider-Man 2, but we're also going to try to monetize off of some of these other games and Spider-Man, right? Because of the deluxe edition with the outfits and stuff. I think we be breaking news before everybody else, because we talked about this before everybody else.
And I'm on record.
Characters.
I am on record going, they won't do that, and they right away did it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in certain cases, because for a lot of us, we just want to play the games and enjoy them. We ain't really.
Yeah.
It's just like, I would have been willing to pay like full price if you get a full price value, but this whole backhand thing was like, well, now you're going past the full price. Like, you got to set a limit where it's just like, and once you hit $70 in, like, everything else is free. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen.
But it should be, if you're gonna see it sell the thing for 70, then it should all be in there. Like, if you're gonna go up in price, why am I still also paying more? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it should be 70. Like, these games that come out costing 40 or free to play, then I get you monetizing to try and make up that money. But if you're gonna charge full price, give me the full product. Like, I'm not understanding.
Yeah, and I think that brings me to my next topic, because this ties in, because this is, some people might look at this and say it's good, some people might say it's bad, depending on how you look at it. But when we talk about full product, here's a game where I think it's disguised a certain way, where they didn't really give you the full product right away. That is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2. We talked about it before, that it was going to be officially announced at some point, but as of right now, it was a rumor. I think we said that like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now they officially released the trailer and showed you, the changes. But I think this is another one of those situations. Like, I'm not about to be negative about it, but it could have still been a part of the first All-Star Brawl. It looked like they did some updates where you got a couple more people, a couple more battle arenas, and outside of that, it's like, it's impossible. They did not increase the graphics. Like, you could tell it's the same thing. Because both of them are considered like next gen games, I guess, in a way, but we're talking about a year to a year and a half later. The first game died. Like, let's really be honest here. It seemed like,
which is why I think they have to release it too. They couldn't have announced all this for the first game and released it, because I don't think people would have went back. Like, I think mentally, people are like, 2 is an improvement. Adding to the first was just going to be more of the first. Like, so it's unfortunate. They should have just put this all in the first one, but
it seems like to me this was another one of those games where they were going to go full live service in a way, but the game itself failed, and it's easier to market it as a second game and just reprint the disc going forward, and that's the real update. But this is clearly still All-Star Brawl 1. I ain't trying to be too negative, but like, when you look at it, like, you could pull both trailers and put them next to each other for one game and the other, gameplay footage and everything. Like, that's pretty much what it was. It was going to be like another one of those like later on updates, but the game, like, multiverses came, and pretty much that energy went there for a time period until they took it back out. Now this has a window, to come and get that energy back. But I mean, multiverse is going to come back right afterwards anyway. And then the long-term players, they're still playing Super Smash Brothers. They were never going to leave. Anyway. It was only going to be like hot for the moment. But yeah, they're making a part 2. I feel like it's the same game. I'm not going to hate on it, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to treat it just like the first one. It's got to go on either PlayStation Plus or Game Pass. Honestly, that's just how I look at it. I got to go on one of them. I don't see myself. Yeah, I don't see myself buying it. But it still looked like it was fun. Some of the additions there, they spent like a little bit of time on Squidward, which I thought was funny. And certain people they were showing.
Yeah, they had the good-looking Squidward that they always call it, right?
Yeah. There were certain people where they were kind of putting a little bit more emphasis on during the gameplay to show you that they kind of improved their moveset a little bit. I think it's still kind of just one of those updates, but you're gonna get a couple more not Nintendo. I did it. Nickelodeon characters, and it'll still be fun. I think it'll still be fun, but I do think it's one of those games where you didn't get the full product. So technically, if you were someone who bought into the first one, it reminds me of Attack on Titan, where it's like now you have to get it again to get what's considered the full product, you know. But if you're somebody else who didn't buy into it, now you will get the full product. Kinda. We'll see. So that game used to be a rumor at one point. There is a game right now that is in the rumor stage that I think went on record saying this is never going to get remastered. But it was a game I think my co-host was waiting on because he didn't want to go to Xbox. But this is Red Dead Redemption 1. Apparently there's a lot of rumors about this being a remaster that's going to come up. I remember doing a video a while back. It was a really, really quick video, mainly all audio with like Grand Theft Auto 5 gameplay. And it was because initially it was kind of reported that there was no remaster for Red Dead Redemption 1 and then also Grand Theft Auto 4. And I think I remember saying like, you know, you can still play this on Series X with the older 360 disc, which is still true. And they do have like some boosts. I think it was FPS boost and the Xbox One X boost, which brings it up to 4K, which does make it look good. But my argument was this was technically like them not doing that was a good thing because it allows them to put their efforts into GTA 6. I do still feel like I kind of stand by that a little bit more. I feel like I would rather they put their full effort into GTA 6.
I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
I don't think they're directly doing it. I think just like the remastered trilogy for Grand Theft Auto, they're gonna outsource it.
Yeah, so I think so. If I remember correctly, the backlash of GTA's trilogy was why the news came out that they were not going to do it. That was the initial report, and then I guess unofficially some news came out that was more leaked or something like that. I don't know all the details, but it's basically in the point where it just needs to be announced officially, similar to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, where I believe that information was out and it wasn't announced officially, and so now this will be announced officially for Rockstar, basically. But since I made that video, that was a long time ago. That was like when I was pretty much the channel was like completely brand new. What we had since then was GTA 6 actually leaked. There was like a series of like test footage of that game actually came out. So it was confirmed real that they had been working on it and they are still working on it. And I guess whoever leaked it, I think there was like a bounty or something. I don't know what was going on. It was something really weird. Like Rockstar had their lawyers and stuff ready. Somebody was like went into their like work email or something, pulled all these videos out. It was all over the internet on a Sunday. And I actually had a lot of those videos saved on my phone where it was just like a whole bunch of test videos. I was just looking at some of it And it really just looked like Grand Theft Auto 5 in a whole nother setting. Like, they were just like testing the AI and stuff with like how the police responds to like the star ratings and everything. But we know GTA 6 is going to come at some point because of those leaks. What we don't know now is if they're working on a remaster for GTA 4. There was no information at all on that, but I think Red Dead 1 might get it might get announced by the end of the summer. I don't know if it will come out this year, like for a holiday or something, but it sounds like somebody worked on it. Funny enough though, like they're still through emulation a very playable version of it on PC. And then you can play it on PS3 and Xbox 360, but then the Series X I think was a very, very good place to play it right now if you don't want to wait, because of its enhancements. Everything was in 4K for me. I had no issues with graphics or anything. It still looked a little dated because it still was like an enhancement of the original version. But I can imagine Red Dead 1 will probably, the remaster will probably look very similar to Red Dead 2, but on the scale of what Last of Us 1 was, in a way, where they just worked on the eyes and the face and stuff and like make stuff extra shiny, the water extra realistic looking and little stuff like that, shadowing and stuff. Good game. I had an issue with the DLC of it though. I think I remember mentioning it like in an early episode of the podcast where Undead Nightmares, they had like this whole headless zombie thing, because I don't know what was happening, but at some point the code would just break in the game.
Yeah.
And everybody was being headless, and I was just like, okay. At some point I was just like, I'm done, and I kind of just moved on. I stuck with it as long as I could, but I was just like, I'm done. But yeah, Red Dead might come. Are you excited about this? Would that be something you'd buy right away?
I don't know if it'd be right away, but it'd be something I'd eventually get for sure. So I never played the first Red Dead. It was just something I missed. Okay. Unfortunately, and then like when I really saw how big it was, number 2 was coming out, and then I'd already moved on to a new system. No time to go back. But yeah, for sure, it'll be something I definitely try out. Given that, it's good and it doesn't come out in like a bad state like the Grand Theft Auto trilogy did.
Yeah, I think they learn from their mistakes. I think if anything, it's probably like right now, like being polished. If anything, I think they're more polishing it because they can't afford to have that again. But anyways, I would like to just take a quick second to do our unofficial sponsor thing where we don't get paid to sponsor, have a Epic Games shout out in the middle of the show. So like I mentioned all the other times before, you don't need to have your credit card. You just need to have a profile on Epic Games, and you can claim their free games that they have available to you every week. And it seems like they're back to doing 2 games a week now. So, you're looking at 8 free games a month, even if they're not that good or something you have never heard of and they're quirky or just experimental. It's free. They're giving you up to 8 of them now. Every now and then they do a AAA game, but right now, from now into August 3rd, they are giving away Homeworld Remastered Collection and then Severe Steel, I believe, and then
Severed.
My bad. I think I wrote it wrong. My bad. I'm dumb. I'm looking at it like I know that's not right. My bad. But yeah. So from now to August 3rd, you get those 2 games. And then from August 3rd until August 10th, you have Balloons, not Balloon, but Balloon TD6, and then Loop Hero. I don't know much about these, but you can claim them and try them out for yourself. And then also remember, if you do not have a computer, PC at all, you could still create a profile, claim this like on your phone, or maybe a computer that's just not a gaming PC. And then once you do get something, you log into Epic Games, everything is there. You can start installing stuff and playing it. I still recommend the ROG Ally as the device for you if you are just starting off. It will probably be, it's considered expensive for a handheld, but I think it's very cheap when you think of it as a PC though. $700, and you can still dock it like a Switch and play it just like you would play a Switch. So I do think it's still on the cheap side in the grand scheme of things. So that's it for that. I do want to go back to another topic, because with Red Dead Redemption 1, that was one thing that I said I thought would never happen, right? Here's something else that I thought would never happen. Apparently, Xbox is having a relationship in development now with Square Enix, of all people. It seemed like hell froze over, apparently. And Square Enix and Xbox decided to team up or meet up. They were on stage with Phil Spencer at one point, and he announced that Final Fantasy 14, it will be coming to Xbox. Hopefully this is the first of many Square Enix brand games that are not like licensed, like the Marvel games where they have to make it multiplat. But this will be one of the first Final Fantasy games that's going to go over there. I know a lot of people who wanted to see Final Fantasy 7 over there from the Xbox side. But so they made this announcement. This is very strange in a way, because it's like, we've talked here in the past when it came to like the Final Fantasy Pixel Collection. One of the games I'm playing is the first one, Final Fantasy 1. Like, the Pixel Collection, though, the official Pixel Collection was like available on so many different platforms, and it was literally not available on Xbox. Remember, it was like, it was available on mobile and Apple. And then also optimized for Steam Deck. It was on PC, Switch, PS4, and PS5. It was like all of it. And then there was just like no Xbox version. And it was just like, why are they going out their way to not put nothing on Xbox? Well, apparently, Xbox been throwing some money around lately. It's got to be a bigger check there that we don't know about.
Yeah. Do you think they were like, we'll give you Call of Duty if you give us a Final Fantasy?
I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but it's strange. This was probably the one thing, because throughout all this talk about acquisitions and stuff, you always kept hearing people say, well, PlayStation needs to buy Square Enix. I remember always hearing that. And it used to be kind of cringy, because in my head, I'm like, what does that even do for them? It's like, because a lot of people who would say that, like, they start off like bashing like Xbox or Microsoft for wanting to buy people, and then we'll finish with saying PlayStation needs to buy Square Enix. And I'm like, that's kind of hypocrisy there a little bit. But
do you think there's more of a fear that if they don't buy Square Enix, Xbox will, and then they lose out on those games too?
Maybe, because even though the PlayStation and Square Enix has this long-term like relationship, at the end of the day, these are still companies. Square Enix was also still a company that wanted to release NFTs. So these are companies that are just like, hey, money talks. Money talks. So money is talking, I guess. And maybe they started throwing money towards Square Enix that they never saw from PlayStation, and at the same time they know that Microsoft as an entity has more money than Sony. So this is just a start. We might see more coming forward. It still reminds me of the Atlas bag, because Xbox threw Atlas a bag because not only are the Persona games now about to be in Xbox's Game Pass, but it seems like we might see Persona 6 day one in Game Pass, because all the other ones are in Game Pass, and it looks like that Persona 3 remaster was another one that was going to be there. I think, what was it called? Tactica? Persona 5 Tactica? That was the other one. Yep. And so at one point, like just at the tail end of the PS4 life cycle, when everybody was just saying PlayStation is so far ahead and Xbox is so far in the dirt, that was one of the companies that you wouldn't have even thought Xbox games would, like, that would be on the Xbox's like roster or radar, and then all of a sudden at the start of the next generation, every game's going into Game Pass, right? And these are also, Japanese games, and history was showing us that a lot of Japanese games and a lot of Japanese companies were just not trying to have their games on a Microsoft system, right? So Phil Spencer is working out here. He's turning things around. Square Enix is this news isn't too big in the news right now. It's just the idea that it's Xbox and Square Enix sharing the same stage, going out there together, a company that is very much well known for being associated with, PlayStation. This might be their Bungie move. Like when Bungie was like with PlayStation, it's like it might be the move. Like when the ink is dry on this Activision deal, that would be the craziest thing to see. If we see something like that, I don't think it would probably happen. I think Square Enix is the best thing for Square Enix to do is to stay multi-plat, because Microsoft can hand them the money, but I do think they should consider the money they still get from Nintendo, because like games like Octopath Travelers, I forgot the other one, but those type of games play like more of their audience is on the Switch. I don't see them like, well, now you have to get all of that on Xbox, or now you have to get all of that on PlayStation. I don't know if that's a good move for Square Enix. And Square Enix is not one of those companies that's hurting, just like Capcom. So we can go into that. Capcom also acquired a studio.
Swordcanes.
Swordcanes
Studio.
So everybody's acquiring everybody. But
so Swordcanes Studio is they're known for doing the animation work for Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16. They helped with Hi-Fi Rush and Monster Hunter Rise, stuff like that. So they're now owned by Capcom, the animation side of stuff in the games.
So it's interesting because I remember thinking at one point, like, with everybody trying to buy everybody, is it necessary, really? Like, overall, like...
That's what I was wondering.
Is it... Because I would say on my end, as a consumer, the main thing that I am saying is, I just, at the end of the day, don't want to have to pay more for something I was already getting cheaper. A good example of this would be... Tears of the Kingdom all of a sudden is just $70. I went out of my way to try to find a way to make that 60. I did, because I didn't want to pay 70. But like games like that and other games, it's like with everybody. Well, Tears of the Kingdom didn't go nowhere, but other games where you're basically consuming each other on the back end, the companies, and you're getting together and stuff. It's like, as long as me as a consumer, as long as I don't have to pay more, that's all that matters. One of the more recent news is with Xbox, with Game Pass going up by just $2. It's just $2, but the message to me was just like I didn't ask you to buy Activision, or I didn't ask you to buy anybody else. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't want you to raise your price of that product. Like, let's say tomorrow a weird news comes out where like McDonald's buys Burger King, right? As weird as that might sound, Everybody's acquiring everybody. Let's go out the box a little bit. So let's say they do that, right? But they operate as business as usual. But now, like, the Whopper is like more expensive. It's like, well, why is it? Yeah, like it's more expensive because we bought it. But yeah,
the way I was thinking about it too, it's like when PlayStation or Sony or Xbox, Microsoft, or Nintendo like buy a studio. In a way, it's like, hey, you're gonna make the game, and it could be multi-plat, but you're really making sure it works best on our system. Yeah. And because a lot of hardwares are so different now, it seems it's almost like in a way it's like, well, it's optimized on this system, and maybe they're gonna have to wait a little bit longer before it can release on the other system, which now makes yours the priority system, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not gonna come out on the other one. It's just those who want to play first, you're gonna need the right system. What ones that don't make sense to me is ones like this, Capcom acquiring, because you're still gonna release on everything.
Yeah.
So what did you need to buy it for? Like, why are you stopping them from working on it? Like, what did you, unless it's really like they do great work and you want them to just focus on this high output of games you plan on making, but do they high output that many games that they can't, that they needed to buy a studio?
I don't know. The funny thing about Capcom, it seems like they're an oil machine over there. They don't have no problem with the Resident Evils. They don't seem to have a problem with Monster Hunter. Like they have a schedule where it's like every other year you get a Resident Evil. In between there, you'll get a Monster Hunter. I forgot to mention like Devil May Cry is still relatively good. So some of these franchises, they've had plenty of games come out on them, and they're relatively highly praised. You know, very rarely is it a dud. You know, but maybe that's why they got extra money to throw around to just add to their arsenal. I guess I don't know. Maybe it'll make some of their little games a little bit better. You know, like
you know what I would love?
Yeah,
I would love if like companies were secretly getting bought and we couldn't figure out who the company was, right? But they're like, these different studios are getting bought. And then it's revealed, it's like Dreamcast. And they come back and just have this whole list of exclusives that you got to get the Dreamcast for. And they just come back. Because I saw this old picture before that was like, once upon a time, the four nations lived in harmony, making fun of Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was PlayStation. It was like right at like some Games Fest thing, in a row it was PlayStation, Xbox, it was like PS2, Xbox, Nintendo, like GameCube, and then Dreamcast, and a bunch of these like young kids were like, "What's a Dreamcast?" And it's just like, ugh. But I was like, yeah, that'd be great if they just came back and I was like, turns out like Capcom was bought, and we're like, bah who? And then it turns out now Capcom games are exclusive to Dreamcast.
It sounds good. The only thing about it is
horrible,
we have another system to get.
Oh, another system to buy.
Yeah, because Dreamcast is gonna be $500. People need to understand. You want these new systems or these other big names to drop something. You understand it's gonna be another $500 get, and it's gonna spread your libraries even more thin. And if you somebody who got like a TV where like you only got so many HDMI ports, I don't know what to tell you. But
yeah, unless I got into the mobile thing to be the direct Nintendo competition.
Yeah. So Swordcanes, what is Swordcanes known for again?
They're known for doing the animation work in a lot of games, like Street Fighter 6, Final Fantasy 16, Hi-Fi Rush, Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe they can add or work on Exo Primal. Like if it comes out with a sequel or something, they can make that look a little bit less like janky a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. Or get to work on the next Devil May Cry.
Yeah. So yes, Capcom just has they're an oil machine. They have like a lot going on over there. They can just pump out whatever they need. So, yeah, I don't know. Nobody asked them to buy a studio, but if it helps, it helps, you know. Speaking of which, so if we jump back to Xbox, I guess real quick. you know, they spent a lot of money on Activision. It's still technically it's still not done. I thought I was gonna be able to, you know, talk about it in the solo video, like it's finally over, but it's technically not done. But in the meantime, you know, they decided to add some extra characters to Call of Duty, you know, to squeeze some more money out of you guys out there. There's some hot movies out there, like the Barbie movie, and you know, the Barbie movie had a hot Barbie song that came out, and the Barbs, you know, they wanted to infiltrate a whole nother area, so now they are showing up in Call of Duty with their queen, and not Beyonce, it's the other one, Nicki Minaj, along with a couple other people like Snoop Dogg. I think at one point I saw somebody was trying to say 21 Savage was going to be in it,
and Lara Croft.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with Call of Duty, but yeah.
Yep, during the next season, you got Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Nicki Minaj, Snoop Dogg, and 21 Savage, all joining Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone.
So
Modern Warfare 2 Warzone begins August 2nd. Yep.
I wonder if we can throw slight blame on Fortnite. I wonder if Fortnite's skins or something has gotten to the point where it's like the other companies are kind of looking at that, because once they throw a character in there, they just make money. And
so partly because now you can play as the characters from Futurama in Fortnite, so partly that has to do with it, but also for some reason a lot of like the hip-hop scene supports Call of Duty. I think they get paid to do it, but like a lot of the hip-hop scene supports Call of Duty, so that's why every once in a while they throw like one of the hip hop artists in there. Like these aren't the first ones, but it's just because they're like, I've noticed on like a lot of the Call of Duty commercials, it'll be talked over by some hip hop artists or things like that. So target audience.
What's funny is like if the Activision Blizzard merger was finalized, and then this was one of the first things we find out right after that, Xbox will get bashed so hard. Like they will get bashed so hard for this. This would be considered such a negative, but because it's still in the loop and it's more of a Call of Duty decision, it's more tongue-in-cheek humor in a way. I saw the graphics for Nicki Minaj and everything. It's just, the funny thing about it though is like you're still only going to see their arm, not even really their arm. You're still just gonna see the gun. You're not even, this ain't even third person. Other people was
and you before the mission starts, you see yourself walking on the screen.
Yeah, at least with Dead by Daylight, if you are playing if you're a civilian or whatever and you pick Nicolas Cage, like you could just,
I played that this weekend. Yeah, I played it just last night. I'll talk about that in a bit. But I'm looking at the Snoop Dogg model. It looks great, and his gun has like the Crip bandana, like the blue bandana stuff all over it.
I would say, you know, with Snoop Dogg, I would say, you know, he actually plays. He has a whole stream. The streams are like hilarious. He plays games with people and stuff, and he has a whole like crew and stuff. I wouldn't really
You don't think Nicki Minaj plays?
I don't know. No. I don't think so. I think she got cut the check. It's a marketing move because of how the Barbie thing, how big it is right now. I think it's more of that. I think it's more of that.
Legit Barbie.
Because like I also felt like the other move was a head scratcher in itself, because if you go back a Call of Duty game, they actually took Levi from Attack on Titan. Did you remember that? Levi from Attack on Titan was in there. I'm like, it's still at the end of the day a hand with a gun, but it was silly. It was just silly. They had Levi in the other one. So,
but they've constantly done stuff. So, like for example, a lot of characters from The Boys TV series, Hero One, they're in there. Call of Duty. Ghostface was in Call of Duty. Shredder. was in Call of Duty.
Yeah, I had to say, like, this ain't really new. This ain't really new.
Yeah, Lionel Messi, the soccer player, was in Call of Duty. So
yeah, I don't know. It just seemed odd.
I forgot about that. Godzilla was in Call of Duty. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I think they did that at one point. It just seemed like it's. I think that type of marketing is not the audience in. There's a disconnect there. Basically, is what I'm trying to say.
It's working though.
Yeah, but I think they were pulling so much from your hardcore Call of Duty players that predates all these extras. Yeah. That, like, even with them doing that, it's like that's just what they're doing with the money. Because other than that, they probably wouldn't have done anything. It's just like you would have just had the base Call of Duty game. It's just extra because they're just making so much money as it is, you know. That's how I look at it, because I feel like a hardcore Call of Duty player, especially an esports type person, they not asking for this really. They just need the game, and they need more maps.
Call of Duty Black Ops Zombie map 5. Yeah. You could play as Richard Nixon, the president.
It's goofy, dog. I remember. I think Bill Clinton was in one of them, right? Yeah,
probably. Yeah,
I remember playing as Bill Clinton. I think it was like, which one? It was. I think it was the first Black Ops on the PS3 360 generation.
Are you sure that John F. Kennedy?
It was. I think it was Bill Clinton. It might have been. I don't know. I just know. I think you beat the campaign. At the very end of the campaign, you play as the president, and it kind of like. It throws you into a zombie-ish thing, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Yep, that would have been JFK.
Okay, I don't know. It was one of them. It might be Trump or something that in the future. I don't know, but
they put John McClane in the game. You can play as John McClane from Die Hard. You can be Rambo. You could be Billy the Puppet. I remember Rambo. Saw.
Yeah.
You could be Billy the Puppet from Saw. Leatherface. Judge Dredd.
So they got a bunch of these characters. It's just, but that's the thing. So you don't hear about it from the player base because they don't really. They just focus on just playing. They're just playing. Where on Fortnite, everybody's got a skin. It seemed like a skin is everywhere, but I digress. I guess we can move on. Next topic, your topic, Cyberpunk XOXO. They get a new comic. What's going on with this, bro?
Yeah, so Cyberpunk 2077 is branching out into the comic book world to give some more lore, which I mean is great because Cyberpunk is very lore heavy. Where you had the tabletop game that had lore, and then this game is focused more on V, and his life or her life, depending on how you play V. But like, there's lore there, and then now Cyberpunk 2077, it's called XOXO. One, which will be coming in October.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just more lore stuff, so they don't have a lot about what it's about yet. But it says, so beneath the skin, flesh, and cyberware lies a beating heart, and only two things can stop a heart from beating: love and death. It's gang-on-gang violence at the Maelstrom's target, the Moxes, the ambush, or for an ambush. Is it a bloodbath underway, or could this be love at first sight? So it looks like it's going to be a love story between two rival gang members.
I wonder if it's going to lead to more DLC.
It could. Definitely could.
Probably with a celebrity or something, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. I don't have no problem with it. I still want to just make sure that Cyberpunk, the game, is 100% polished. I think it's almost polished. It seemed like it's polished, but let's just keep polishing the game itself before we take too much attention away from it. But I guess I know this is probably a whole nother group of people, and writing a comic is way different from just polishing the game. But
but it's cool. Just anything with that much lore gets a backstory. Real quick, because I meant to mention it with the other characters. Yeah, so hopefully I'll have some footage on it eventually. But I got back into Dead by Daylight and played some Nicolas Cage. It is funny. So when you start levels, he'll say something like certain levels. He's like, "Man, I really hate this farmer," like something like that. Like when you get into the game, and then his abilities are great, and it's funny because it's like if you make eye contact or you look directly at the killer, you'll scream, and it activates other abilities and stuff. But you will scream. Because I'll be walking and he'll just go, ah, I'll like start freaking out. I'm like, oh, the killer's that way, and like I'll turn around and run the other way. I ended up escaping and surviving against Mike Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Who, man, it was tough. And he was like trying to get us all. Like it's this whole thing where he has an ability where if you like he stalks opponents, and that's how he gets stronger and stronger. And if you get it to like the highest level, you could basically do your special kill with just one hit. Like you don't like he becomes unstoppable. At that point, and
Nice.
he was at that level chasing me, and I had to just juke the mess out of him to get out of there, and I barely escaped. And like got out, the teammates were like flashing the flashlight trying to help me like on the way, and it was because he was gonna get me. Like he was gonna get me if I didn't get that good juke move. But we ended up making it. But he's a fun character to play as. For sure, a lot of people were playing as him. But yeah, he's fun.
All right. Awesome. Well, I think we're almost done. Speaking of villains, outside of Dead by Daylight, I guess there's another villain out here. His name is Elon Musk. I think we could talk about this. I talked to somebody before about Twitter being like a Elon Musk like thing, and I guess basically what they mentioned, and I think this is kind of true. Maybe it's a conspiracy in a way, but because he was forced to buy it at one point, it's like his mission to destroy it. I think that's what he is. I think because now he stripped the name from it.
It's not Twitter, it's X.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if he's maybe trying to create some sort of universe because he got SpaceX. And then he
really liked the letter X.
Yeah, what was really funny is I heard that the logo that they're using, like a user on Twitter tweeted that to him, and he just used it, and he didn't give them money or nothing. He just took it.
Damn.
Or what they said.
Yeah, that sucked. That sucked.
They said he just took it. Not only that, like I just want to mention real quick. Not only that, somebody had the @name where it was just @X, and it was a long-term user, and I guess he forced them to change their name, and they could no longer have that @name no more. It was literally just and then X, and he took it away from them. I guess. So yeah, what was you gonna say?
The logo looks like the Xfinity logo for Comcast.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just strange because I think Twitter rings bells. Like people gonna still know Twitter for Twitter, but X could be anything really.
On a lighter note, yeah, it could be anything. People were making not safe for work jokes about it.
Yeah, of course. I've seen those.
Because it was trending too, and people were saying, like in a way, they were renaming what their videos were based off of it. It's like they're no longer tweets. The videos are now, and then you can put the rest together. But the
to
other
be fair,
issue,
a lot of content like is on there. But yeah, go ahead.
Yep. I just saw, like, as I opened this up from NPR, Elon Musk takes X handle away from its original owner.
Yeah, he took it.
That's crazy. But like, I just remember waking up and it was just the X symbol on there. But like, here's the thing that bothers me, and it kind of ties into HBO Max renaming themselves to just Max.
Mm-hmm.
It almost removes their identity of what made them stand out, right?
That's
like
kind of what I was saying. Yeah.
The light blue bird, like for Twitter and everything, and now it's just a black screen with an X, and I'm like, that is the Xfinity logo. It's just the Xfinity logo. Sometimes it's red, but other times it's white, and it's just the elongated slash on the X for Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The other slash is elongated for Xfinity. Like, it just looks like I kept thinking it was the Xfinity app when I was opening it. But then on top of that, like with HBO Max changing theirs, where it was like you were HBO Max and you were purple, and then you changed it to Max and made it blue, which made it like look like Paramount, CW, Disney, like Amazon Prime, like they're all blue, and now yours is blue too, when you were the only purple one.
Yeah,
and now with,
they
like,
spend a lot of money.
Black. Silly.
Yeah, I was gonna say they spend a lot of money through like the surveys and research by thinking that the people don't have a brain where they can distinguish, and is like if it looks enough like this other thing, then they think it's that, and they're more often able, like they're more often to use this product now, which is kind of weird. Because I know like in the industry, they used to talk about how like in the food industry, they really like market the color red. And like red was supposed to be the color for food and stuff. And so everybody's logos and stuff had like a really bright red, like obnoxiously red. And I'm just like, I could look at the red. Like they would say you would look at red and it would make you hungry. And I'm like, no, it don't. Like, I don't know. Like, like I was just like, no, it don't. I get hungry because I'm hungry. Like, I don't look at red and think I'm hungry. Like, it was kind of weird, but that's just how they're so obsessed with money and trying to increase that they stop thinking human.
Yeah, he's trying to get his money back because I think he really didn't want to buy it. So
yeah, because immediately I think he was doing the whole charging for the blue check. I do kind of think that that's a little. It's obnoxious, but it's kind of smart on the business side, because like some people are so obsessed with their clout that they literally will pay that $8. And if they were at the point where they had check marks in, like they earned it basically beforehand, then they're trying to protect that status no matter what. And so he's also just extorting them.
It kind of is messed up though for certain people where they're like a lot of people fake being them.
That's
and now you can distinguish between, so it's like, you have to buy this brand. Like a lot of celebrities are just like, I really are here anyways. So if you already follow me, you follow me. If not, you follow me on Insta.
Right. You have a situation where the imposter will have the check mark, but the real guy won't. And like automatically, without thinking about it, people are gonna be like, okay, that's the real one.
Yep.
And it's like, that's not true.
All messed up. Speaking of the color thing, there's something I noticed, and I'm gonna leave you with this. I don't have anything else to say about the X thing. Marvel villains are purple. If you really look at all of Marvel stuff, majority of the times you could tell which one's the villain, either because their skin is purple or their powers are purple. Like I've noticed they've always used purple for the villain. They always do something in purple.
I'll go there real quick because this was something that I noticed with a company that's no longer here. This is for my extreme fanboys out there. I'm gonna jump into wrestling real quick. Lucha Underground, if anybody remembered it, when they made somebody bad, they like basically turned them into like the Undertaker light, but they was just like they were black, but they had to go through that casket match first and then just like reappear as like the dark version of themselves, and they was wearing all black and stuff. And it's just like you could have turned heel the regular way. You didn't have to be Undertaker. Like it worked with Mil Muertes, I think it was his name.
Muertes.
Yeah.
Mil Muertes.
And then they tried to do it with Pentagon Jr.
and Big Zeke.
Yeah, and then they did Ricochet as well when he was Prince Puma, and right when he was on his way out the door, and then the show pretty much just abruptly was done. But it's little things like that. It's like you pick up on it, but you don't associate. Like I don't associate the color black with being the bad guy, but that's kind of what.
Nor
they did.
do I with black or purple. Marvel wants you to though. Purple villain.
With WWE is usually the person gets like a goatee. That's usually a thing.
That's because also face is short for baby face. As in.
But I would think like because your face was shaved that means you're the good. Like it just like I never thought that way.
Beard means grizzled.
But everybody else is thinking that way. I guess, bro. Last topic, and then we can get up out of here, play some Destiny. I just wanted to just mention real quick about my experience with Pokemon SoulSilver. Now, I was talking to my co-host off air. Technically, with my situation, I could still have the ability to keep going, but I was at the point where I got all 16 badges, and I was told in the game, go to this mountain. When you get to the top of the mountain, you get to face Red. Red has this super Ash team. He might as well have been Ash Ketchum, because his entire team was Ash.
Ash copies from Red, not the other way around.
All right. Well, basically, the last gym leader was Blue. And he said something slick to me because he was over on one of the islands or something, and he was just like, "Oh, you ain't got all the other badges yet. You can't face me yet." And then he was just like, "Oh, if you serious, then come see me at the gym." And I'm like, "Okay, dude." I go to the gym, I face him. He was a tough battle, but everybody was relatively level 60, right? This is post game stuff, so the surprise was once you get past the first 8, surprise, the game is not over. It's only like 50% over or 40% over, and you got all this extra game left over. This was probably huge for the Pokemon fans when you were a kid.
Yes, it was.
I can imagine it was. Unfortunately for me as an adult, I was on borrowed time. I still stuck with it. But to give some context, it was an emulated version of the game, and it was on my phone. It was the DS version, the remastered version, SoulSilver, not Silver. And my phone was basically on borrowed time. Still is, and I'm still working on it. But basically, I finished the game technically with a loss against Red. And it's like, okay, you can face Red again, obviously, once you level up. According to the game, though, only thing I had to do next was, if I wanted to go back, rematch all of the 16 badges, rematch all the gym leaders, and then rematch the Elite Four. Every time I rematch the Elite Four, it resets all the legendaries that I haven't caught in the area. If I accidentally fainted them, I did faint like 2 people. What was
that happens.
Yeah, so every time you face the Elite Four, that resets, so you don't just miss out. But doing that and facing all the other gym leaders again, they were supposed to have better Pokemon and be a little bit more leveled up. I think that would eventually get you to the point where you were going to finally get your Pokemon from level 60 something to 80 something, and then you could face Red. Here's the issue though. It kind of got to the point where I was having a moment that was similar to Borderlands, the pre-sequel, where we got past a certain hump and then they tell you gotta go level up a little bit before you face the end guy. Because that's kind of what happened, but they didn't tell me to go level up. They just let me go over there. They told me to go over there. I went over there. All of a sudden, every Pokemon is like level 40 or higher. And it's all the ones that I've been looking for. I'm like, oh, conveniently, you are all here now. And then as I'm navigating through, they finally gave me Rock Climb, where I'm able to actually climb the mountains and stuff. You climb, you get to the very, very, very top. This dude's just standing there. And he's acting like a prick too. He didn't actually speak. He stood there. He was kind of cocky. They had his like animation where he was standing there cocky. And then it was just like, okay, let's fight. His very first Pokemon was Pikachu at like 84. The gym leader Blue right before it. Everybody was like late 50s, early 60. And all of my guys was around that level too. So it was a nice even battle.
Wrong. That's where you were wrong. You're supposed to walk into there with level 100s, man.
I'm like, bro, like, and this is the thing. I'm like, okay, I can't train out in the wild with all these people who keep calling you, because nobody's powerful enough. The Pokemon in the grass are still on the levels of if you were playing the game from the first generation game, Red or Blue or something. They're like all weak. They only up the level of the gym leaders, right? And some of the people in the area. But once you beat all the people in the area that you walk through, you don't beat them again unless they call you. The people who want to exchange numbers, when they call you, then they can, you can face them again. But majority of them is still vastly under level, and it's only one battle. So it's like, in my head, I'm like, how am I supposed to get everybody from 60 to 80 in time when I need to get this phone? I need to get this phone replaced. And
that's on
you. Oh, that's on me. Like, funny enough, from one of my jobs, I got a email, or not an email, a text message telling me my phone is outdated and they're not supporting the operating system. I got that message literally the day after I lost against Red. And so I was just like, you know what? I was already talking about getting this done anyway. Because I think even on the podcast like a week or two before, I was like, this is an all hands on deck. I need to finish this because I need a new phone. And I was just like, you know what? I'm okay losing against this dude. I'm okay with that being the story.
I was gonna say, yeah, he is
I
the
was
best.
okay. I was like, you know what? I played as Red. My very first Pokemon game was Red, and then I borrowed Blue from a friend and didn't actually need to because everybody was in the same game before they start making it where like the legendaries is like cut off. Like in the first game it's not like that. And then Red was great. And then I remember I did watch all 5 episodes of the short TV show that they did to promote X and Y, where they changed the story a little bit of the Red game, where you face Mewtwo with Charizard and he did the Mega Evolution, I believe. You remember that? Did you watch that?
Yep. Oh,
So
yeah.
I was all right. Okay, this dude is so powerful that all he does is just stand at a mountain all day. Okay, fine. I ran into a couple of legendaries. I never ran into Mewtwo. But I wasn't really like, I was at the point where I was. Say it again.
In a cave. Mewtwo was in a cave early on.
Yeah, I remember. I ran into another cave where, what's the name of the legendary bird that was like ice? I forgot. It's not Moltres.
Articuno?
Yeah, Articuno. I accidentally fainted Articuno with my Snorlax, and I was just like, okay, I could have went back into the Kanto region or the Johto region, and went and got the other dog or lion or whatever they are, but I was already
legendary dog.
Yeah, I was just in the in-game. I was in in-game mode where I was just like, let me just face the gym leaders and get this done. And I did. And it really did just come down to Red. And in my head, I was like, so I got to go back and do all the gym leader battles again just to level up. Now, as a kid, perfect, right? Because you don't have no money to buy the other games. You probably don't have all the other systems. You probably got one system, one handheld, right? Or maybe one of the two, and your parents chose the handheld because it was the cheapest, right? And so when they give you like so much more game, I mean, you were probably running through batteries back then, right? Just to play that game, and it was fantastic. Unfortunately, just as an adult, is like, I'm still playing all these other games, and I was actually very, very itching to get to the next Pokemon game and stuff. And so I'm only like 10-15 minutes in, but I did start Pokemon Emerald. This time it's on the Game Boy, the Mayu Mini Plus, the black one that I have. And that's kind of where I'm going to continue my Pokemon experience, I guess. So I'm not giving up on season 2. Talking to my co-hosts, if anybody else want to know, I'm trying to get a new phone. I was also going to do more YouTube on that phone. You're going to see more, probably not as fancy edited videos, but more frequent videos throughout the week, like just straight up from my phone, outside of whatever I record at home, as well as like the podcast, right? But Pokemon SoulSilver was on my old phone, my phone that I have right now, that I might get replaced tonight. And I just kind of was just like, I was trying to speed it up. Honestly, I wouldn't mind going back through the gym leaders. It was just, at the same time, I do want to catch up to the newer stuff. Pokemon Legends Arceus is what comes to mind, because that's a game that I did buy full price, that I just have and didn't open. And then some of the other ones. So Black and White was remastered for the Switch, right? I believe that's the next generation. Correct me if I'm wrong. After the Emerald generation, that's Generation 4, right?
Yes.
And then they're gonna do, and then Black and White had a part 2, and I don't think that was remastered yet, right? But yeah, so I may end up going from one of the emulation devices to just going straight to the Switch for convenience sake, or just for performance sake, if it performs better for the next generation. But yeah, so if anybody wants to know,
Diamond and Pearl is after Emerald.
Okay.
Diamond, Pearl, and Black.
I think I did see that.
Black and White.
Okay. So I'll figure it out once I get there. I'm going to move a little bit more quickly with the Pokemon games. At some point, I'm going to pick back up Cyber Sleuth, the Digimon one. But Final Fantasy and Pokemon was one of the series that I was trying to go from scratch, from start to finish, actually, one by one. I know they're technically not really related and they're a new beginning each time, but I was just trying to do it. Outside of like, for YouTube, it was like Alan Wake series with not Quantum Break, but with Control, and then Alan Wake 2, right? And it was just like some of the series I was just trying to go from the beginning. Pokemon Soul Silver, if I was to rate it, I would still say 9 out of 10. Very, very fantastic game. I was annoyed with all the people calling me, to be honest. Especially when it was like the mom, like they had it in there where like the mom would call you and be like, I used your money to buy stuff, sorry. I'm like, man, it's kind of funny.
So when I first played it, I was able to beat Red. I don't know, bragging, but I had a level 95 Golem. As transferred over from the first game. It was still a Graveler, so it was a level 95 Golem, or 92 Golem. I just earthquaked my way through his team, and I had like a level 88 maybe Jolteon to handle the Charizard, but it would like die and then I would just revive it and bring it back.
Yeah,
like I would sacrifice the rest of my team to just survive it, but it was with Jolteon and Golem. Because Golem just earthquaked his way through the rest of the team and killed them all. So
yeah, I can imagine. So my team is mainly level 56, 57, and then there's a few of them that were like in the 60s.
Everybody was 65 or 70 by the time I got to him, except for the Jolteon, which again was traded over from the first game because I used the Eevee in the second game to get a different evolution, I think Vaporeon, and then like I said, the Graveler from the first game I had transferred over because I knew, like, it was transferred over specifically because I needed the Earthquake to defeat a few of the gym leaders because he was already strong enough. So
I like what was really just happening was, as I was going through some of these in-game bosses, the going back into the first generation's gym leaders, like every grass area was still based on the first game. So like, even though you were facing those people in the area where they're like at the level where you would be, if you went into the grass, everything would be like level 10, level 15. Some of them be like single digit levels. And so my thought process was, the whole point of this is probably just nostalgia, but just get through the gym leader battles. And so they still had some story elements where you still do some obstacles before you face the gym leader in some areas. And I still did it and it still helped. But largely enough, I was just going back through like all the gym leader battles. And so right after I got through with Blue, And not to brag either, a lot of these were like I didn't lose. Like in the first the first 8, there was a couple people where I had to rematch, but like in the last 8, they were all like one and dones. Really, they were all so like even Blue. Once I finished with Blue, Blue was one of those people who had like a full team that you had to go through, and then Red obviously had a full team as well. Once you get done with Blue, I think you go back to Professor Oak, and he's like, I got this TM for you, or HM, I think HM08. And then that one is supposed to be the rock climb. You have the ability to climb through all the caves you've been through to get to higher areas. So there's still like more game and stuff for other people to do. Like, it's fantastic for a child. At the time, I know this was probably huge for Pokemon fans back then, because it was like, yo, there's so much more game left. And I know that probably was one of the best moves that they made that hooked Pokemon fans for life, right? Because they play every other game. Great. It was just, as an adult, like, I was trying to just get through it. I had no intentions on going back to any of the other caves and climbing up. I know you probably see a legendary or something there, but in my head I was like, I'm trying to get to Emerald. That was my thought process. I'm just trying to get to Emerald, because with Emerald I could play it on the Game Boy, and I can get off of the phone, and I don't have to worry about the phone accidentally erasing my save, and I gotta go through the system to try to find it. And so that was my thought process. It does sound like, I was talking to my co-host, like once I get a new phone, my old phone will probably still have it. The only thing about it is that I think the save and everything is on a SD card. I did plan to port the SD card with it over to the new phone, so that might be an issue. But I don't know, that might actually be an issue. I have to figure that out. But to be honest though, I was pretty much cool with losing the Red, because I was just like, I don't know if I want to go back through it, because once you're at level 60 and above, to get to the next level, you got to go through a lot of battles, you know? And it's like, to go from 60 to 80, that's a lot of grinding. It's not the same as going from 20 to 30. You know what I'm saying? Like the experience points only count for so much. Like, you get like 1,000+ experience points, but the little bar barely moves. It's like, yo, I gotta do this for everybody, because this dude he had a level 84 Pikachu that basically went through the whole team. Like, when I saw that, I was just like, all right, I'm done. Like, I was just the next person came out there, he was already too fast because it's Pikachu. And I looked it up. Not only does he have Pikachu, he has all 3 starters: Blastoise, Venusaur, Charizard.
All level 84.
Yeah.
80 Snorlax and an 80 Lapras,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, bro.
For me, Lapras is what always gives me the hardest time. I don't know why. I think its defense is really high. Like Snorlax too, but like it just takes a long time to beat it. Whereas I feel like it hits hard, it is hard to hit.
My man's was giving me the work with Pikachu, and he went through basically 5 out of 6 of my people, and then finally Pikachu died. And what was so funny was, what was making Pikachu die was that he was doing this like zip zap move, and he kept hitting himself with recoil or something. I think Red still used like a potion to bring him back up, but then eventually the second time around he couldn't bring him back up. Whoever I had out there hit him and he was out. And it was like, okay, I'm on my last Pokemon. He's got like 5 more to go at all level 80. My last Pokemon, Pikachu, just went through everybody. I only went against him once. I was just like, I think I'm done. Like the whole time, as soon as I saw 80, I was like, I went into it thinking like everything was gonna be like high 60. Maybe I might see a 70. But 84, I was like, come on, bro. That much of a jump, like the first, like there's nothing else to do in between but go to the mountain. That's what they tell you, go to the mountain.
That's why nobody could beat him. I think they expected you also to not be on like Blue's level by the time you get it. Like they expected you to be at like 75 going against him. And then you're like train a little bit and then get to the 80s to go there, or he's the last thing you do. So you're refighting the Elite Four over and over to like catch the other legendaries, and then the last thing you do is take on Red.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Because when I looked it up, it was like, okay, you go back through all 16 gems. They're all going to be stronger and have different Pokemon, or some of their Pokemon will be different. And then you go through the Elite Four, and it was the same thing. You're supposed to go against a stronger team with some different Pokemon. And then you probably will be just enough to go against Red. I just felt like that was going to take too long. And at the same time, I didn't want to face the same people again at a higher level. I was ready to just go to the next game. That's how I felt.
I remember why my Golem was so strong. I didn't transfer it over at 92. I transferred it over in like the 70s or something. But I was using the experience share to train other Pokemon so they would level up so I can evolve them. Yeah. So I would reface the Elite Four over and over, and I would Earthquake my way through the Elite Four, because the first time I went to go refight them and they had new Pokemon, it was wiping the floor with me. So I was like, all right, let me get this Graveler real quick. It evolved. And then I would just Earthquake my way, and it would just auto-level Pokemon. So I had taken on the Elite Four over and over because I was experience sharing one Pokemon at a time, trying to get it to like whatever level it needs to evolve.
So maybe I should have used the experience share, because I actually had I didn't use the experience share at all. Like everybody earned their experience the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Older games experience share wasn't that bad because you had to put it on one particular Pokemon. So it was an easy way to level one up off to the side. The newer games have it where it's auto on for all Pokemon. I preferred it for the one at the time. It was just, you pretty much two Pokemon get to level up at the same time.
Right.
And where that worked was, notice how you said after you beat Blue, there was a bunch of level 40s of the Pokemon you wanted. And it's like, oh, well, here you are now. That was the idea, is I'd grab one of those at level 40, throw an experience share on it, and then go reface the Elite Four. Everybody's high level.
Right.
So it'll get the experience, and the level 40 guy can level up without me having it in a fight.
I just know that like all the legendaries in the game were all pretty much level 50, and then the dogs are like level 40 something. And at this point, I was already mostly level 60, with some of them high level 50 something, right? So I was like, I didn't really want to go back and train the other ones. Remember, I'm still looking at it where Emerald is the next game, where anybody playing that straight up, this was the game. Like there was no Emerald yet, right? And so in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get to Emerald, to the point where I was so anxious to do it that I started it. I created a new character, named him Supreme, right? Hey. And yeah, so that one I've only started like 10-15 minutes. I guess the professor was getting attacked by an animal or one of the Pokemon. You had to quickly go in his bag, grab a Pokemon. I grabbed the Firebird.
That's what I was gonna ask. You started with Torchic too. That's who I started with.
I started with that one because I knew it turned into like that kick fighter. And so
for me, I didn't know that when I first Pokemon Emerald was my first game, Pokemon game, and I chose that one because I said if it was real life, I would get stuck with the baby fire chicken. That was my thought process. I was like, if this is real life, I'd get like everybody would get this cool stuff, and I'd get the little chicken. It's like, oh, yeah. And I pick it, and then it ends up being like the best one. And I'm like, yo, this is what's up. I was very happy.
Yeah. So I'm itching to be on that, but SoulSilver is still obviously a must play if you've never played it. Definitely play it if you haven't. I'm pretty sure 100% of the people, anybody who listens to this, has already played it. I criticize Nintendo and like the later Pokemon games for performance and stuff, but the earlier stuff is still gold, especially with some of these emulation devices. I'm now, you can just pull it out of your pocket and everything, but I do still support when the stuff is in the stores. Like I said, I wanted to buy black or white, one of those two once I get to that point. And I already bought Legends Arceus and I just haven't gotten to it. Trying to go one by one while still playing everything else, right? Tears of the Kingdom, ROG Alley, Steam Deck, Series X. We about to play some Destiny in about 5 minutes. So yeah, I was just wanted to give y'all my experience on that SoulSilver, because technically SoulSilver, if I remember when we were doing the segments of what's the game you recommend or something of the week, like I think when I recommended that was a long time ago. That was like when one of the first 10 or 15 episodes, and we were like episode 50 something. So I had been playing this for a long time. I think it said it was like 122 hours so far into this one. And maybe that's not as much if you think of a hardcore Pokemon fan. And at the same time, it was still casually playing. I wasn't playing it hardcore every day, but there were days where I would just like sit down and play it. And there goes the there goes the distraction outside. But anyway, we're at the end of the show. It's all good. Yeah, I'm a Pokemon fan, definitely, of all the original stuff. One of my favorite movies was Pokemon Mew versus Mewtwo. It's one of the originals. That was like, I think the first one. I think
the one where Ash got turned to stone.
Yeah, Mewtwo had like the robot. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was so long ago. So yeah, a lot of these games and stuff that everybody's seeing all these remakes and stuff for, I have no problem pulling out the original, finding the original, pulling out an old system and playing it, and I have a lot of fun with it. I still do prefer my new games to be photorealistic because they charge photorealistic money. They want a cool, crisp $70. So I would like it to look cool and crisp. But for a lot of these games that are 15, 20 years old, they still hold up to this day. I still had a great experience with SoulSilver. That's all I got for you here. This is the end of the show. You got any last words before we end it, man?
Stay hydrated. Yes,
please stay hydrated. And I will catch you on the next episode. Look for some more solo vids once I get my new phone. And we are out. Peace.